eaten long enough. It's my turn to cut the food. Pass the plate with my drink. This my day. Lucky you. Hope you too. Woo! I gotta move. I gotta move. I gotta move. Give me some room. Give me some room. Give me the juice. How about the coupe? How about the coupe? How about the shoot? Y'all gotta move. Y'all gotta move.
Y'all gotta move.
Ah.
Mike, you been listening to that new M? That new Slim?
No.
No. Harrison?
But I will listen to it. You just turned me on to the first song and it's amazing. I will definitely listen.
I don't know. So I did listen to the whole thing. What's up, guys? Mike and Lebs Talk Football. Glad you all are here. Harrison Amburn is here with us today. Harrison, how are you, brother?
I'm doing well, fellas. How are you guys?
Good, man. Thanks for being here. Harrison and I, back in college, went and watched what was that movie that we watched about the boxer and had the most incredible soundtrack? Southpaw.
Yes,
Dude.
That movie.
It's one of those where every single guy in that group that went with us was like ready to go to start training.
Yeah. That movie was incredible.
Like, did you ever watch Never Back Down? That
Yes.
opened up the whole UFC MMA thing. Everyone wanted to do it too.
Gyllenhaal was so ripped in that movie that he looked fat because his abs were so yoked around his hips, his flexors. It was ridiculous. I remember that was always something we were joking about afterwards. And at that movie is where I discovered that Harrison shares my love for Eminem a little bit. Harrison, I don't know, are you a huge Eminem fan? I'm a pretty big Eminem fan for many years.
I wouldn't say I'm a huge fan, because I feel like if I listen to him a whole lot, I just end up being angry all the time.
Right.
But I do respect him. He's definitely up there with the best to ever do it, for sure.
Totally agree. New album has come out, Kamikaze. It's his rebuttal to all of the rappers that have been writing bad things about him. Whatever. I think the concept maybe is a little flawed, but at the end of the day, he lays down some pretty good tracks on that album. So it's I'd probably give it a 6 out of 10. It's not bad.
I'll check it out.
Nice. Well, everybody, thank you for joining us today. Man, we're excited to have this pod not only to talk about music, but also to talk some football. We have an incredible Premier League weekend coming up. Mike, how has this international break been for you, man? It seems to me like this one is always my least favorite. Right here at the beginning of the season, right as things are starting to get interesting, and then boom, international break.
So yeah, usually this international break, I'm just come on, why do we need a break at this point? This is the one that I've actually been grateful that it came along, because Liverpool was winning despite not playing their best football, winning with this defensively sound bit. But the further we got along in that 4-game win streak, we're maybe the shakier we look, so to speak, as far as be up top. So I was like, man, this is the perfect time for us to have a break and get Fabinho back get him integrated to the squad, and I really hope he starts this weekend against Tottenham.
I'm looking forward to us previewing that game, by the way, Mike. That's going to be excellent. Harrison, how was this international break for you? Did you how do you feel Spurs' form were going into the break, and do you expect to play better or worse than before the break?
Honestly, I feel like this break has lasted for forever. And I think part of that is just because that Watford game kind of left a sour taste in any Spurs fan's mouth. That was just a tough way to end, but I thought that we played unbelievably well, really, all things considered. I listened to your all's preseason or whatever opening podcast where you and Mike and Scott all took turns just pooing on the Spurs for no signs. But I thought we came out and played really, really well. I think that you see what having a full, time to get integrated has done for Lucas Moura. I think he's by far been the surprise of the season for the Spurs, which is good, though, because we needed somebody else that could step forward, especially with Son being out. So, like I said, I feel pretty good about how we've played so far. You never want to drop points, but Watford has been a really solid squad this year. We dominated the first 60 minutes of that game, but then momentum started to switch, and we should have. I think we should have abandoned the 3-back system and gone to a 4-back just to give us some more stability. But it is what it is. I'm excited for Saturday.
Man, Saturday. I did not realize that we were had this game coming up at 6:30 until this week, and man, I am really really excited for it because both teams are going to lay it all on the line. I mean, it's going to be huge. I would like to just quickly give my thoughts on how City have been performing prior to the international break. This international break did come at a good time for us. We have not been playing our best football. We had that great result the first week, but it's been up and down since then. I'm really, really hoping that Leroy Sané gets a run out this weekend against Fulham. I think we need him back in the squad. Mahrez has not looked very good, in my opinion, as far as fitting into the team. Obviously, his touch, his ability with the ball at his feet is incredible, but his movement and his pacing right now doesn't feel like he's really in stride with the rest of the team, and he hasn't caught the Pep fever, if you will, or I don't know what it was, but I mean, if you guys remember Pep's first season with us, it just felt disjointed. It felt like, okay, everything's not clicking. Ball will be going places, and players won't be there when the ball gets there. Like, they don't exactly know where to stand, where to run, everything like that. That's kind of how I feel Mahrez is right now. But yeah, the whole squad is struggling to click, and we are really, really missing Kevin De Bruyne. I watched a training video today of us getting ready for Fulham, and just not seeing Kevin out there is really, really like gut-wrenching at this point of the season, because I think we're really going to need him this weekend against Fulham, who are going to be very tough. So I'm looking forward to previewing that as well. So, man, international break. They want us to care about this international football stuff. Harrison, have you watched any of the games? I know that I haven't. I mean, do you care? You have?
I have not. No,
Yeah.
to be honest, having the international break, like, a month and a half after the World Cup is just like, I just feel like it's, a lot of those big star. I mean, I looked at the USA squad, and like it's just kind of like the B team. You know what I mean? It just, I didn't really care for it. I didn't watch anything. I watched the highlight, the like late second or like last minute goal against Mexico for the U.S. But I'm be honest with you, I haven't paid any attention to any soccer, football, whatever you want to refer to it as. I haven't really paid attention to it since the last match day for EPL.
It's tough for me to really catch the fire of interest in it at this point. However, I love that you bring up that U.S. national game against Mexico. Mike, I know that you have some thoughts on this. Tell me what you think. Tell me about, should we care that we snatched this win away from Mexico like we did?
I think it's good to care. I don't think there's I didn't watch the match. I watched extended highlights.
Okay.
I think this game will always... Go ahead.
Did you see the thing specifically with one of our defenders and the height? He was making fun of one of the Mexican guys.
Oh, Miazga. Matt
Yeah.
Miazga.
Yeah.
He's a Chelsea... I think he's a Chelsea player on loan.
Okay.
Also.
I mean, Harrison, you liked it? Or you were... I mean, I want to hear people's opinion on this. Cause
I don't know if I liked it,
right.
or... I mean...
Go ahead.
Part of me kind of likes it because I love like adding to the rivalry, but it's also maybe a little distasteful. Something I personally wouldn't have done.
Right.
But if one of my teammates did, like if I was on the squad and that was one of my teammates, I'd probably laugh about it in the locker room.
I'd wish I could Snapchat it. You know what I'm saying? Like.
Yeah, I mean, it was like one of those that I was just kind of like, I was like, ooh, that's a. And then, that was just kind of my reaction to it.
Right.
I don't think it's as big of a deal as some people maybe made it out to be. I just think that it's just part of a rivalry,
Yeah.
I mean, it is what it is.
The other thing that was interesting, though, was the dude that he was making fun of the guy's height. Tell me any of us remember that? I'm going to look up his name, so I'm not saying the dude. But that same player had been absolutely roasting that side the entire game. Like, just absolutely ripping up and down that sideline, putting some good crosses in. So it's like, okay, you got the better of him this time, but that little short guy has been, roasting your defense all game. So that was the other thing
Right.
that I thought was interesting. Mike, I'm sorry. Do you have any more thoughts on it?
I don't know. I wish I had more context for it. Like if I had seen an entire game.
No, totally understandable. Harrison, any other thoughts before we move on that? I would want you to transition to talking about your boy's son for the Spurs, because I think it's international break relevant.
I have a question for you, Caleb.
Yeah, go ahead.
Since you're talking about Sane a little bit earlier.
Yeah.
Is there anything to it? Because Lowe, he left the team early, but he also had a child. But I mean, like him dropping out with Pep and stuff with Lowe. Is there anything going on with him with his attitude? Is there more to it?
Yeah, I think that he does have a little bit of an attitude, and this is something we've talked about. I'm sure on this pod before, because I love Leroy Sané. I bought a Leroy Sané jersey. I only have 3 jerseys, and it's David Silva, Kun Aguero, and Leroy Sané. And he's making me regret buying the jersey just a little bit because of his poor attitude, and I don't jive with that. I don't appreciate that. The kid's got all the talent in the world, and where there's this much smoke, there's some fire going on. And, the back tattoo always gets brought up, which, when he did it, I was like, oh, man. Like, I thought it was really cool at first. Like, I think the concept was cooler than the execution. Like, I don't even know if that's as much of a representation as him as a person as it is just, like, a stupid tattoo decision. Like, I'm not sure. But that always gets brought up in reference to him being a douche, to be honest with you. But I don't know. He's an excellent player, and I would like to see him get a run out this weekend. Bernardo Silva has a little bit of an injury right now, or he's supposed to be available for the game, but that's one less person at that spot that I think Sane could play. I know he plays on that left side, but I'm just thinking in terms of pecking order. Bernardo was definitely ahead of Sane so far this season, so I'm hoping Sane will get a run out. But yeah, he needs to get his attitude in check, and he needs to get out there and start playing because we need him. But yeah, I think there is something to it, Mike, to answer your question. Someone who doesn't have an attitude is Son from Spurs. Harrison, tell me a little bit about what's been going on with him and kind of what you've seen over this international break.
Well, I mean, obviously the big news is that he got out of the mandatory military service for South Korea. For those that don't know, he had to win the Asian Games. Which they did. They won the gold medal. Had a couple of really close calls too. I can't remember exactly who all they played in some of the earlier matches, but I mean, barely scraping by and stuff. But he's really the leader of that South Korea team, and so getting exemption was huge, not only for him personally, but as a Spurs fan. I mean, I think it can't be understated how important he is to our team. And then obviously we were kind of talking about it before the podcast. Really, the thing with the international break with him, I haven't seen too many highlights except for that nutmeg pass he had against Chile, which was
my gosh,
just filthy. I was sitting here watching a replay of it. I mean, he's an incredible talent. Like I said, he's really helpful for our squad. Luka's stepping up in his absence was big, but I'm certainly glad that Son's back for us. It's huge.
For those who haven't seen the dribble that we're specifically freaking out about, Son is in the midfield, and he has it as the ball comes toward. I don't know if is he already dribbling the ball? He rolls the ball backwards with his left foot, and then passes it behind his back through the legs of one of the opposing players, and just absolutely embarrasses him. It's absolutely just, that's our dirty talk, by the way, for the night. It is dirty. Oh my gosh. So yeah, y'all need to check that out if you haven't already seen it. So also just looking at the table for just a second, we like to review the table here on this show at the beginning of our discussions of the Premier League. So sitting at the top of the table, we have none other than Michael Flowers' love, Liverpool, his true love. 12 points with Liverpool, tied with Chelsea and Watford. Liverpool are ahead on goal differential with 8 goals in their differential. 9 goals for, 1 goal against, which is really,
That's
really incredible. Chelsea close behind with 10 goals for and 3 goals against. And then, of all teams, Watford in third place with 12 points and a goal differential of 6. 9 goals forward. They've scored as many goals as Liverpool has. Watford, of all teams, 3 goals against. And in fourth place, City with 10 points due to our draw with Wolverhampton. And then keeping on going down after that, Tottenham is right there at number 9. Bournemouth at 6th, and Tottenham's not at number 9. They have 9 points. But yeah, just moving on down that table. Man United is in 10th. Arsenal is in 9th. Oh man, still early on. Do we expect Man United to finish in 10th, Mike?
No.
Do we
I'll say
expect
no.
Man United to finish?
Yeah,
Say
in
that
10th.
again.
Might think Man United will
No.
finish in 10th.
I wish.
Yeah, I mean, that'd be cool if it happened, but I don't see it.
Yeah. And at the bottom, Newcastle.
I don't think they'll
Burnley,
finish in the top 4.
You do think they will?
No.
Okay. I don't think
No,
they
no
will.
way.
Looking
Can
down,
I say that one of the biggest, and now granted I haven't gotten to watch them a whole lot, but just looking at their results, I think one of the biggest disappointments has to be West Ham this year. I mean, they're sitting dead last, and correct me if I'm wrong, but didn't they spend like a fair amount of money this season, and it just really didn't do?
They did, and they also have Man City's previous manager Manuel Pellegrini at the head. And this immediately moves us to the subject that I was hoping to talk about, and here we are. The bottom of the table, West Ham, no points. Burnley, wasn't Sean Dyche supposed to be manager of the year last year? Newcastle with 1 point. Huddersfield, Cardiff, and Crystal Palace making up the bottom 6 teams. Mike, which manager will get sacked first in the Premier League, and will it be a manager from one of those 6 teams?
It's going to be Pellegrini, I think. I don't think Sean Dyche can be fired. I don't think, whatever happens with Newcastle, Benitez, I don't think he'll be fired. I think the 2 managers' biggest risk of being fired are going to be Pellegrini and Neil Warnock for Cardiff. Those would be my predictions. Because Cardiff have been pretty bad. I mean, they got those 2 points in their last 2 matches, but otherwise they've been pretty awful. It took them match week 3 before they scored their first goal. They just look very championship level still. They didn't pick up the players. They didn't step up with like Fulham and Wolves did. I mean, West Ham are awful. They're awful.
Yeah.
They're the worst.
Harry, go ahead.
I'm looking at their squad right now, and it's just, through 4, they got the 4-0 against Liverpool, and then lost 2-1 to Bournemouth, 3-1 to Arsenal, and 1-0 to Wolves. And I mean, you're talking about not really being able to score. And I mean, it's not top of the table level, but their forwards, Arnautovic, Yarmolenko, Andy Carroll, Javier Hernandez, like that's not terrible. That's not a dead last on the table.
Yeah.
I don't understand where their, lack of offense is really coming from. Like I said, I haven't gotten to watch them much, but their results have been pretty pitiful.
I think it
Did
comes.
either of you?
Go ahead, Mike.
Did either of you catch like the highlights against Arsenal like a couple weeks ago?
I did.
Their defense is terrible.
That's it.
Most of Arsenal's goals were like these tap-in, strange.
Yeah.
And I'm right there with you too, Harrison. Like they spent a lot of money over the summer, and I don't know a lot about the players they spent, but they spent quite a bit. So
I'm looking at it. If I'm reading this table right, they've got 2 goals forced and 10 allowed for a differential of -8. I mean, that's ridiculous.
That is correct. Yes, it comes down, in my opinion, and I have watched them a decent amount, and I've tried to pay attention, and there's a lot of City fans keeping a very close eye on them because Pellegrini is much loved amongst the City fandom. So we're all keeping an eye and kind of rooting for him. We also have a connection to West Ham with Pablo Zabaleta being there, and several of our players having gone to West Ham. their defense is really, really bad. Zabaleta is, obviously the player I love most on that squad, and his legs were gone when he left us, and so he's going to West Ham, and he's not even playing most of the time. So the guys that they have stepping up at the back positions, both the right and left back, are they're not very good, to be honest with you, and it's so easy from what I've seen, just watching the Arsenal destroy them. It's so easy to just cut their defense apart, to get out there and really get at those backs with some pacey wingers, which is something that obviously we know Arsenal have in an enormous amount. And they're just that fodder team is what they look like, that a lot of Premier League teams are just going to really feed on. The money that they spent, from everything that I have seen from the incoming the transfers that have come in, they have not bought specifically in positions that needed improvement. You know what I'm saying? There's a difference between spending money and spending money wisely.
Very true.
So I think that's part of the problem. But you think Pellegrini will be the first to go? I think that there is a very, very good chance that Pellegrini will be the first to go. A lot of the City fans are saying, no way, West Ham are going to give him time. I just don't know. They look really, really bad. And when he was the coach at Manchester City, when things were bad, he was not a guy who really turned things around and got them moving in the right direction. He was very good. They called him the engineer, was his nickname. And he was good at taking and tweaking a few things and taking it from good to great. I think that's definitely one of his skill sets. But when you've got a team that's in a free fall like West Ham are, Big Sam might be getting a call real soon. I would not be surprised if West Ham went that route.
Dude, it cracks me up. I know you listen to Football Weekly. I don't know if you listen to it, Harrison. It's amazing. They talk about Big Sam all the time, and It's hilarious.
Oh, yeah. Because they don't have respect for him, really. Like, they think of him as almost like kind of a joke, But the guy is good at what he does. I mean, you can't argue with his results, Let's go ahead and move forward to previewing this Saturday's game. And we're going to start right off at I think the most interesting point of the whole weekend. 6:30, Saturday morning, Tottenham Soccer Chickens versus Liverpool's Red Army. I'm excited to give you both a little chance to talk about what you think is, a lead up to the game. Give me a preview. Give me a form. I'm going to go with who I think the favorite is. I think Liverpool are favorites in this game. So I'm going to let you talk first. And then I'm going to let Harrison do a rebuttal and tell me why you're wrong and why Spurs are actually going to beat you guys. So I'm going to sit back and enjoy this. Mike,
let me ask you this. Forgive me, I don't even know. Where's the game? Is it at Anfield?
The game is at Wembley.
Oh, interesting. Okay. Yeah.
It was supposed to be the opening game for the new stadium, but they had to push it back. So they're still playing it at Wembley.
That's a whole mess we don't even want to get into because the City fans are irate about that deal. But,
mm-hmm.
but I don't care to talk about it. If you know about it, you've seen it, whatever. Mike,
The
floor is yours.
So here's the deal with this Liverpool team right now. It's just been the attack. It hasn't been like clicking quite with the chemistry, the lightning quick movement, the switching like they've done in the past. And he's kind of experimented with a few different midfields. And I think he's figured out a midfield that doesn't work. The midfield of Wijnaldum, Milner, and Henderson doesn't quite work. It's kind of flat because we rested Keita again in our last match. So I expect we'll see Keita starting. I believe we'll see Wijnaldum starting, and I hope to see Fabinho starting. It's incredible. You spend this much on a center defensive midfielder who's one of the best in the world, and you don't even have to get him in your team yet, and you win all 4 of your games. But he will enhance this team greatly, and I think him and Keita will be that quicker release of the offense, and I think it's going to come. I'm not worried about it at all. We've got Shaqiri, we've got some incredible players, and then the big thing on this team now, we've got this incredible. I mean, we didn't ever talk about it. This mistake that Alisson made, but other than that, our defense is like locked down. We've got Gomez and Van Dijk back there, and Andy Robertson, new captain of Scotland. Trent Alexander-Arnold, like almost becoming one of the men on the England squad. My prediction actually for this game, I think we'll score a little bit early before the 30th minute. I think Spurs will score off a set piece like somewhere in the 60th minute, and I think it's going to be a 1-1 draw. But Spurs are they're so capable and so solid. Like I don't know, with our defense the way it's been, this will be hypothetically our biggest test so far. I mean, we played Crystal Palace. That's a tough match, but I mean, Spurs are a different beast. I'll be excited to see Van Dijk in the Harry Kane battle. I don't know. I was thinking about this a lot last night, and I was looking at the teams and the lineups, and I mean, I've got all this incredible amount of respect for Pochettino and the way they do things, and I feel for him. I think he did want to buy some players in the stuff that I've read, kind of reading between the lines in his messages. But I mean, still got an incredible squad that is pretty good at remaining injury free. You've got this Lucas Moura fellow, came last winter, looking incredible. I think he's the most concerning player for me, how dynamic he is. But yeah, I think it's going to be a 1-1 draw.
I haven't gotten to watch Lucas play live yet. I've watched highlights and I've watched whole games back, but I haven't gotten to really watch him play, as the game's going on live, and I'm really looking forward to that. So, Harrison,
he's like a little. Lucas has been like the Energizer Bunny. Truthfully, if you get to watch him play, I mean, he's got tremendous pace, but he just seems to be everywhere. Really, I think he's kind of understanding what we want to do, what Poch wants to do. Spurs are a very pressing team. They apply a lot of pressure, and so he's kind of bought into that and kind of understood where how to go about that. I really feel like you just never know. Obviously I love the Spurs, but I just feel like we kind of are up and down. It's just the Man U game was awesome. I mean, came out and you could tell we really wanted to make a statement. Old Trafford's hard to get a win in, and you go and you beat them 3-0. I mean, you beat them like a drum.
Yeah.
And then you come back against Watford and you're dominating the first 60 minutes. You're having trouble putting it in the back of the net. Our goal was an own goal, you know what I mean? But we were controlling the game. And then it's just like we just stopped doing what we're supposed to do, you know what I mean? And Dembele played terrible in that game, and so did Ben Davies. And we just kind of fell apart. So I really don't know. And Mike, I don't know if you saw this earlier, but Dele is actually going to miss the game. He's got a hamstring, and then Hugo is going to be out for a while too. So Vorm will start in goal. I don't know if Son will get to play. I don't know how fit he is after the Asian games and the international breaks. I'll be interested to see what lineup we tried out there. I don't know. Because of the uncertainty, because I kind of feel like Harry Kane has been a little sluggish so far. Now, granted, he scored in August, so that's always big. But I still feel like he hasn't quite looked on form for his standards. He's got such a high standard, Obviously, he's got a couple goals. He's been solid. But I actually think Liverpool will take this one. I'll say 2-1 Pool.
I have a question for you.
Yeah.
Did you know Trippier was so good at free kicks? Because I had no idea. And he scored these two incredible free kicks at the World Cup, and then I can't remember who the other free kick was against. I was like, I had no idea.
Yeah, he. I don't know that I knew he was so good at free kicks. I knew he was good on set pieces. He's been a great passer for a long time, and I really think the World Cup was big for him. One, I think it gave him a lot of confidence. I think he's, playing like he knows that he's the man. That he's got the right back, that right wing back position locked down. But I actually like him better on our set pieces than Eriksen. And Eriksen's not a bad free kick, not a bad set piece taker. I just think that, I don't know. The way Trippier is playing right now, I can't really tell him to be like, oh no, somebody else should be taking it.
Spoiled for choice. Eriksen and Trippier. Incredible.
Right. Right.
Yeah, definitely.
I have a
ahead.
lot of concern. I just think that it'll if Spurs win, we have to control the pace.
Yeah.
If we let Poole get out with Salah and Mane, who's been incredible this season, and Firmino, I mean, you talk about weapons galore for Liverpool. I just think that we just have to control it because our style is not built to play with the speed that they have. That's not how Spurs are built. So I think if we want a chance, it's all about controlling, and that's why I think not having Dele is going to really hurt because I think that him and Eriksson really can control the game from the midfield.
You're really gonna have to have Lucas step up this game and continue to play as amazing as he has. I think that is one of the keys to success for you guys this Saturday. Because I'm going to be rooting for you 100%, looking to see Liverpool drop some points, and that would be really nice. But, yeah, I think that's one of the keys to the game. Other things that I was thinking about as you were talking were it's like how do you control a game against Liverpool, though, is the problem. Because anytime I hear control the game, it almost sounds like control possession, which is what we try to do at Man City. And against Liverpool, that's almost not an advantage sometimes because if you're controlling possession, then most likely you're committing men forward, and then it's almost like you're playing into their
Counters.
hands, isn't it? Like,
Yeah.
how do you feel about that, Harrison?
I think that you just have to be smart. Obviously, we have to get some men forward. Don't want us playing like a Man U where we just park the bus. I hate watching them play. So I don't want that. But you're right. No, I mean, we got to be smart. And that's where I really think Dembele will play a huge role against Watford. I forget what I read. It was like through the first 3 games, his passing accuracy was like low 90s, 92, 93%. And against Watford, it was like 76. And he really I think that those are the kind of things that we have to play smart. We can't be sloppy. That's really what happened against Watford. And I mean, no disrespect to Watford, but if they can do to us like that when we play sloppy, I'd hate to see what Liverpool could do if we start not taking care and just making lazy passes. And like I said, they've got the potential to make it really ugly if we let them get out on the counter.
100%.
I have a question for you. I watched that Watford Tottenham game, and I think you alluded to it just a little bit earlier. I thought Pochettino needed to make some changes
100%.
kind of maybe around the 65th minute, and I thought he lost that game because Watford were like on the ascendancy, and I'm like, something's got to change here, and but anyways,
Well, we started with a 3-back system, which I actually like a lot because I like the versatility that Davinson Sanchez brings. I think for a center back, he's got a lot of pace. He just brings a different element that Toby and Jan don't. You know what I mean? And obviously, Toby getting him back in the squad when everybody thought he was leaving. Is he going to Man U? Is he going to PSG? There were all sorts of rumors over the summer, and then to have him come back and really settle in a first team position. So I like being able to get all 3 of them back there. And for the first, like you said, Mike, around the 60th minute is really when I was like, okay, we're kind of starting to lose control of this. We're starting to be sloppy, kind of play into their hands. And I think we should have gone back to a 4-back system because I think we were just too open. And like you said, I mean, that's weird because usually when I watch Tottenham play, I feel like our tactics are really, really smart. And I just, like you said, I kind of feel like that one was on Poch. I think he just kind of let it go. I don't know. I think we just waited too late to make changes.
Were Watford playing with 2 up front or 1 up front or what? Because I've always thought it was interesting how a lot of times the 3 at the back system seems to be a little bit susceptible to 2 forwards attacking them because they can run those channels in between that back 3. And so I know that a lot of Watford's goals came off of like headers, didn't they, coming into the box? And
Yes.
maybe it is kind of due to the fact that I'm just trying to really think out tactically the way that would have affected it, changing to the back four versus the
I'm
back
trying.
three.
I'm trying to remember their second goal. I know their first one came off of a free kick set piece that was a header, and it was poor marking. And then I want to say the second one was poor marking too, but to be honest with you, it's been a few weeks and I really can't remember exactly what it is.
No, it's totally understandable. One interesting thing that I always hear people talking about is that at the end of the day, every goal you can chalk it up to poor marking in some way or another. Like if perfect football was played, no one would ever score. Because supposedly angles and placement and everything on defense, positioning, you can prevent every single goal somehow. But at the end of the day, sometimes on those free kicks, you got to hold your hands up. It reminds me of like the goal against that was scored against City by Wolves, off the guy's hand, where it's
Right.
well, at the end of the day, you just got to hold your hands up and go, well, that should that guy have been wide open to put that ball in off his hand? No, he shouldn't have. But should the ball have gone off his hand and counted? It's just like, well, sometimes you just got to kind of chalk it up. So it's been amazing also, by the way, on that goal, the arguments I've heard as to why that goal was good actually. Like about, oh, it's okay that it's a handball because it, was in a natural position and all this stuff. So anyway, it's amazing how there's always two sides on those things, isn't it? But Mike, any other thoughts on this game? Tell me, what are you expecting to see from Sadio Mane? I want to give a shout out to friend of the pod, footy fan Nate Detterman. It's his birthday tomorrow, and he sent me a text and said to give him a shout out. So Nate,
happy birthday, Nate.
Love you, buddy. He would specifically like to know if you think Mane is going to continue his incredible run of form and what we should expect to see in this game from him.
Man, it's been his year so far for our team. Between him and Van Dijk, they've been our best players, really. Yeah, he is a sort of a streaky player, and I think he's kind of in a hot streak right now. He's not like quite in that purple streak, as like people like to call it. Yeah, I expect him to have a good game. He's very much plays off of confidence. There was a period, I think last year maybe, where he had a little bit of an injury, was out for a couple weeks, and then he was back for like a month. And it took him like 4 matches to score another goal. And like you can see that weighing on him. Like he's a player, he starts taking his chances differently, he starts doing everything differently. And right now he's just playing all instinct and not questioning what he's doing and gelling well. Like I think he'll keep going. I mean, he's been the best of our three so far.
Mike, I've got a question for you. Obviously, Salah is the golden boy for Liverpool. He's incredible. But do you think Sane is the second most valuable, or do you think Firmino? I mean, kind of your big three up front.
That's tough. Like out of those three.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I feel like Salah is one, but I'm just curious who you think is kind of that two. Do you think Mane or Firmino is more valuable to the side?
I think Firmino.
Wow.
Yeah, I think what he offers is like so incredibly rare for strikers that, like, if we looked at counted out the top strikers playing in the game right now, and the work rate he does, the total willingness to interchange, to switch out on the wings, and his passing and ability and possession, I think he fits the Liverpool system.
That's what I was literally about to say. He's one of those guys that it doesn't show up on paper a lot of times. I mean, he does have statistically, his stats aren't bad, but a lot of what he does doesn't show up on paper. Just helps you control the game, Mike. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, absolutely. And like he's totally the kind of the unsung guy, and they'll be like, "Oh, what did Firmino do? What kind of game did he have?" But he's constantly working, constantly cycling the ball.
I'm a big fan of his. I think, and Liverpool is such an interesting team to me because I think you could make. I mean, like I said, to me, Salah is by far and away the number one on there. But you can make a lot of arguments for the second most valuable player if you expand to the whole team. I mean, looking back to last season, since you all added Van Dijk, what your defense has been since then has been pretty remarkable.
And the Alisson thing is also a fluke.
Huge.
That's not. I don't see that happening again. So I'm
No,
agreeing with you,
he's
Harrison.
a great keeper.
Yeah, I'm agreeing with you that like the defense is ridiculous, and that Van Dijk has been huge, and yeah, Liverpool look absolutely incredible right now.
I think it was even maybe good that happened to him. I think.
Yeah.
Because like kind of like, I mean, for me, I'm all about it. Like, I don't know. I think players having flair and stuff like that. It would just make what makes the game beautiful. Like you hear the Liverpool fans kind of jeering at him when he does stuff like that. But I think also like it's not always appropriate, and that's definitely going to dial it in for him. I don't think you'll see that as much for a little bit at least. And Klopp does not like it. He's made that like 100% clear in like all the press conferences. Even back when he chipped the player, then it went so well.
Yeah, absolutely. I think a lot of that stuff will settle down. I think he's just trying to show people what he's capable of a lot of times, but he needs to mellow out a little bit. You know, it's just unnecessary. Claudio Bravo was doing some of that stuff when he first came to City, and I'm not saying that there's a parallel between Claudio Bravo, dear God, for your sake, I hope not, and Alisson, but I tell you what, man, he's just got to cut down on a little of that stuff. I'm gonna go ahead and talk about Ederson because there's got to be a comparison here. You've got Brazil's number 1, Alisson, and then Brazil's number 2, Ederson. Are there any 2 other better goalkeepers in the world for playing with their feet, like out there? I mean, these guys are absolutely top drawer, both of them. And I think any team in the world would be happy to have them in their squad. And they're similar, but they're different in the fact that Ederson has not shown the same. I don't know. Ederson doesn't chip players as much. It's not quite as flashy with the ball at his feet. He is flashy with the ball at his feet compared to most goalkeepers, but I think Alisson's got something else about him, this little bit of flair when he has the ball at his feet. Do you agree with that, Mike? I mean, you've seen both of them play with the ball, right? Play with the ball at the back. No matter how I say it, it sounds weird. But it seems like they mess around with it a little too much, you know. But Ederson has this ice cold, almost like roboticness to the way that he plays with the ball, whereas Alisson, it seems to be a little maybe more showy in some ways. I don't know, my way.
Yeah,
off.
I definitely no, I totally agree. I think Ederson's more business about it for sure. Like he does it because that's in his wheelhouse. But I mean, with Alisson, he loves the show. Like, why else would you chip a player like that?
Right.
You know?
Yeah. By the way, I want to give a shout out to our backroom staff. Hank, thank you so much. Hank's been busy scouring the interwebs since I couldn't remember the Mexican national team player. His name is Diego Lainez, and he was the one who Matt Miazga made fun of for being short. So thank you, Hank. Always got our back, buddy. Appreciate it. Okay. Any last words on the Liverpool-Spurs matchup before we move on to previewing the other games and moving on in the show? I'll open the floor.
I don't. I would like your all's opinion. Obviously, I think we all kind of agree that Spurs pool is probably the most interesting game of the weekend, probably the best game. But I'm curious as if you all had to pick a top 3, so you got 2 more slots, kind of where interesting for you. I think mine would be Watford and Man U. Can Watford continue their form? Can they stay up at that, 4 wins in 4 matches? Does Man U bounce back? And then City and Fulham's intriguing to me as well. I think Fulham has actually played fairly decent for their being up for the first time in a while, and but they've got a mammoth against Man City. But can they squeeze a point? Probably not. But
let's talk about it, Mike.
Yeah.
Can they squeeze a point from the Man City game? It's at the Etihad. Man City Fulham 9:00 Saturday morning. Mike, preview this game for us.
I think Fulham are going to lose, but they're what is his name? Still Djurkanovic.
Yeah,
Grant's going to kill me.
Djurkanovic, yeah, or Jokanovic.
They will come to Etihad. They do not compromise on the way they play. They play the way they play, which is, I mean, I love that. Like, and I think that's going to be their undoing. I think it'll be too much by the time City, and they're still missing Kearney, who's really important for their attack. But I mean, they're still really good without him. I mean, I would love to see them take a point off you guys because I mean, even win just because I love the team so much and I love what they're about.
No,
but I think
fair play.
I do think City will win by a couple goals before it's done. Just because I think City, with the methodical and the rotating and the machine that they've got going, it'll be too much and it'll wear them down.
Want to give a shout out to Grant Harris, footy fan Grant Harris. He was scheduled to be with us tonight, but due to circumstances out of his control, he couldn't make it. I think he's actually studying. Want to give a shout out to this podcast, by the way, the guys in this podcast who hold down a good job, be a dad, and do school all at the same time. Hats off to you guys, and manage to come on a podcast. So to all of you out there, you guys are incredible. Grant, you're an amazing person. And Grant sent me a text that he gave me permission to read on air. So this is Grant's prediction. Grant is a Fulham fan. If those of whom do not know this, he was on the show with me a couple weeks ago, and we talked all about Fulham and what he expects them to do this year, and how he, as an East Texas boy, is a Fulham fan. I re-listened to part of it today, and I think Grant was really, really, really phenomenal on it, so I'd highly recommend it. So shameless plug there. Here's what Grant has to say about this game from the Fulham perspective. He says, I'm going with a 4-1 City win. Like our match against Tottenham, I think we will have periods of possession, play our high line, but be punished by City's dangerous attack in change of possession. Tom Kearney is injured, and with our makeshift back four due to injuries, it can't end well. I expect Company to be given the start and orders to frustrate Mitrovic physically and mentally, and that will hurt us as well. And then the next thing that I want to say that I think is interesting that he added was that, make no mistake, though, Jokanovic will be going for the win, Jokanovic the manager. There will be some beautiful football played on both sides. I just think y'all will pull away. So, Grant, thank you for that. We appreciate it. Hope you're studying well. My prediction for this game is very similar to Grant's. I'm not actually going 4-1, though. I'm going to go with a 3-1 City win. No, I'm going 3-2. 3-2 to City. I think Fulham are going to keep it interesting. We have not looked that great so far, and I'm very unhappy with the rate that we're letting in goals, or the frivolousness of the goals, it feels like, that are being scored against us. And this defense is good enough that we should not be – this team overall is good enough. I mean, we can talk specifically about defensive units, but – I would like to also say with Liverpool, I think their defensive unit is so good because they play defense as a team. And their defensive record is something that we are striving for, but still really haven't achieved under Pep for a consistent period of time, other than for some period of time during last season, during our record-breaking season, 100 points last season. We did have stretches where it was looking very difficult to score against us. But we haven't really gotten back to that. And I think Fulham are going to get some joy out of City when they come to the Etihad. It is going to be at the Etihad, which I think is going to be way, way tougher for Fulham. Their record against us in general is really, really bad. I think we are it's like 15 wins, or there are two. Well, first off, at the Etihad, I know this is a factual stat. We've lost 2 times at the Etihad in the last 40 games, and those were to United last season and to Chelsea before that. So our record at the Etihad is really, really good. So that's going to be a tough challenge for Fulham to overcome. In addition to that, Fulham's overall record against us is not very good. So they just and we have history on them, I guess you can say. Another thing that I think is good for us is that we didn't hardly have any players leave for the international break. Almost everybody stayed. Be that good or bad that they didn't go out and a lot of people did not go play for their countries, but it was nice that they stayed and trained, and hopefully everybody's very healthy coming in. As far as to what Grant said about Company playing, I don't think Company's going to play. I think that Stones and Laporte will play. That is our preferred pairing right now. If we do play 3 at the back, then yes, I do expect Company to come in and he'll play at the very right side of that three at the back system with Stones in the middle and Laporte on the left, as how Pep normally sets it up when they do those three at the back. But it is going to be a tough game, and Fulham really have a lot of talent. Jean-Michel Seri in the midfield, I'm sure he's going to be ready to rock, and I'm excited to watch that dude play. He is incredible. So I'm predicting 3-2 City, but it's going to be a tough game. I'm really, really looking forward to it. I think this is a good opportunity for Fulham to really show out and show off, and I think it's going to be a fun, exciting game. I think it's going to be really back and forth, up and down.
I don't know why, but I feel like City's going to thump them. I feel like they're going to kind of get back on form. Obviously, De Bruyne being out, he's kind of the. Not that you all haven't been clicking. I mean, you guys have been great, but he can really make the team tick in a way that most players can't. But for some reason, I just feel like they're going to come out, and I think it'll be 2-0 or 3-0. I think they're going to kind of put it all together. I don't know why.
Well, I hope you're right. Do either of you guys have an opinion on... I'm going to throw it to Mike first. Mike, do you have any opinion on İlkay Gündoğan?
Did something happen that I don't know about? Or do you want my general opinion on him?
I want your general opinion. The general opinion, I think specifically, a lot of people online get really mad about the dictator of the country, and he gave him the shirt that said "My President" or something like that. I know I sound very American with the way I'm approaching this, but apparently it's a guy who violates people's civil rights. It's
Erdogan.
Yeah, Erdogan. So that overall, there's a general disliking of him online for that, and then the City fans have not taken to him very well. He's not.
He's
very
a pretty
well-liked.
bad guy. President is a pretty bad guy.
That's what I've heard. Yeah, that's what I've heard. So I understand that people are upset about that. I'm not supporting this guy's agenda whatsoever. It's tough to get as worked up about it as I would be if I was closer to it. You know what I'm saying? It's tough when you don't have a lot of skin in the game. But Gündoğan is not well liked by the City fans. When he has a good game, people don't really tend to appreciate it or talk very much about it. And when he has a poor game, he is a very he's a favorite scapegoat, let's put it that way. And so I just didn't know. There's been an article that popped up this week that Sir Alex Ferguson saw him as the replacement, saw İlkay Gündoğan as the replacement to Paul Scholes at United originally, which I think is really interesting, seeing that there are, again, so many City fans that really, really do not rate Gündoğan. Harrison, do you have an opinion on Gündoğan?
I really don't, to be honest with you. I don't know that I've watched enough to really have an opinion of significance about him.
That's fine.
So he was, what I do know about him, he was when Klopp, the Borussia Dortmund team that was very, very good, that won the league and they made a Champions League final, he was a pretty big piece of that. And then he had these perpetual lower back injuries and delays.
He had a patellar injury that he was out. So he had a patellar injury that he was out for almost 2 years. It was a year and a half. And then he had a knee injury that put him out for an entire year. So the guy's had a really bad injury run.
It seems like he kind of lost his... I don't know. When I've watched him, he's like you say, Gündoğan, and doesn't really incite any sort of fear or any concern or anything like a... Yeah. I don't think there's any... He's not someone that anyone on our team or our team could not handle in the midfield. He seems like a good kind of utility player for you guys, right? He doesn't start often in the important matches, or does he?
He does. He starts more often than you would think, and he was heavily scapegoated for the thrashing that City got at Anfield, and I will admit that it was a thrashing at Anfield when you guys put bus drivers in danger. So he got heavily scapegoated for that because he started that game.
The bus driving.
Gündoğan started that game when he had not been starting, and Pep changed. One reason why he gets a bad rap, I'll just lay it all out. He gets a bad rap because it feels like Pep tries to shoehorn him into the team regularly.
Right.
Pep will switch the formation in order to incorporate İlkay Gündoğan into the team, and he's done this on many occasions since Gündoğan has gotten to the team. He really likes him. I think he likes him because Gündoğan's extremely two-footed. I think Pete Gündoğan could remind people of Luka Modric. And I know that's really, really pushing it, but I'm talking about the fluidity of the passes, the touch, and the general control and quickness and tempo-setting movement that he can give you at the middle of a midfield, really like, the metronome type guy. That's what Gundogan can do at his best. The problem is a lot of times his passing is errant, and he gives away the ball in a bad position, and he's not defensively good enough to really hang in a Premier League midfield most of the time. He needs a lot of help. And so, anyway, I wanted to talk about it a little bit on air. If you guys had an opinion, no big deal. I just saw that article this week, and I'm wondering if Pep is going to have him in the lineup this weekend. He pops up and you're like, oh, I mean, that's fine, but then you look on the bench and you go, oh, Leroy Sané's sitting there. Riyad Mahrez is sitting there. Like, they don't exactly play the same positions. I just mentioned two wingers, but like Bernardo Silva a lot of times. It's like Gundogan will start in a position where you're like, oh, Bernardo could play there. And Bernardo strikes fear in the heart of people, or at least he should. That dude is absolutely stinking unbelievable. So, anyway, watch this weekend. I would not be shocked if Gundogan was in the starting lineup. And it's not that I don't want him to be. It's just that we've got so many other good players so I guess I don't want him to be because I want other people to start, basically. And he also plays in the same spot as Phil Foden, and I sure would love to see Foden getting out there more often. Because while I'm on this rant, Man City are in trouble of losing not Foden but Brahim Diaz, which is another one of our upcoming starlets. And it's because of guys like Ilkay Gundogan who are getting into the squad. The fans aren't really behind it. The manager wants it, so you have to trust the manager. But it's like, from the fans' perspective, we're sitting here going, why can't Phil Foden be playing that exact role? We would rather, because Phil is capable of some of the performances, even the good performances that we've seen of Gundogan. We think that Phil Foden's capable of that. And it's like, why can't we get this youth kid in here starting instead of this expensive German player that really doesn't have a lot of goodwill amongst the fans? And I think that's one of the issues with being a City fan, being in a team that struggles to get our youth players in. And I'm sitting here talking to a Spurs fan and a Liverpool fan. I mean, you guys, that's what we're striving towards, is what you guys have set up with the systems of how you bring the youth players in. So it can be a little bit frustrating sometimes.
Definitely. I mean, speaking as a Spurs fan, I mean, you look at some of the guys that, have come up with us. I mean, obviously Harry Kane is great. I like getting the youth players into. I like them getting a shot. Like players like Harry Winks, younger players that I think that really have a chance to be a part of the future there going on. So I can definitely understand your frustration.
Mike, any other games this weekend that you're excited about? I'll roll through them. Bournemouth, Leicester, Saturday at 9. Newcastle, Arsenal at 9. I would expect Arsenal to roll through Newcastle. Huddersfield, Crystal Palace, Saturday at 9. Chelsea, Cardiff. That's going to be an absolute bloodbath. Watford, Man United. That game is interesting, Harrison. I totally agree with you. Would love to see Watford.
That's the one for me, too.
Yeah. Mike, give us your thoughts on the Watford, Man United game.
The frustrating thing about Mourinho, I think Manchester United are going to win it, unfortunately. But I could see Watford on this high that they're having, and kind of new manager push they've got going on. I could see them getting a result out of it. But Mourinho has got this like decent schedule now, and he's just going to shithouse this next 5 games, and he's going to be like okay for a little bit. I mean, that shouldn't really frustrate me. The longer he's in charge at Manchester United, the poorer they're going to be.
Oh, man, it would be enjoyable to watch the meltdown if he got sacked, wouldn't it? Oh, if they lose, if they drop points to Watford this weekend, oh, the meltdown will be so beautiful.
He's on the verge of a gigantic meltdown. I totally agree with you.
Bring it.
Did you all, while we're talking about Mourinho, I had to laugh at the irony of, I'm assuming you saw his response where he was like, you need to respect me. I've got 3 titles. That's more than 18 other managers, that whole thing. When he has I'm maybe wrong on this, but I think I'm right that he had the same amount of titles as like Arsene Wenger before he left Arsenal, and Mourinho is always like, oh, he's the king of defeat and all, I mean, always taking shots at him and all that stuff. And it's like, man, boy, how the tables have turned when the heat gets turned up on you. I get a real satisfaction out of that.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, I'm sure I don't know if fans of the show get sick of us hating on Mourinho. I would be very doubtful, by the way, Mike, if we have many United supporters amongst our fandom.
Not anymore.
Yeah. But any United supporters, please shoot us a tweet at Mike and Lebs and tell us how much you hate us, but you listen anyway. Wolves versus Burnley, Sunday at 7:30. Everton West Ham, Sunday at 10. And Southampton Brighton, Monday at 2. Those games, I just sitting here looking at them on paper, it's none of them look too exciting. I am interested to see how Wolves continue to play, so I'd like to see Wolves continue to do well. Sean Dyche. Let's talk about Sean Dyche for a second. Sean Dyche, to me, is the epitome of old school English thought process on how the game should be played. He represents the old school to me, and I would be totally fine with seeing Burnley get relegated. I'm not a Sean Dyche fan. Mike, I know you rate him, don't you?
I do. I like Sean Dyche.
What do you like? Tell me what you like about him.
He's not like progressive like Eddie Howe is, but I like Burnley as a team 100%. Like, sum is way greater than the parts. They don't spend the money like the big teams, and they came in 6th or 7th place last year, which is incredible. I think the Europa League thing, they do the qualifiers, so they started like several weeks earlier than everyone, and I think it's really affected them the way they've come into this season because they don't have that energy and they don't have that defensive characteristic that we know them so much for.
Yep. That's what I was going to say. The defense has not looked the same, and that's what they just ground out games last year. Would just grind teams down and then get something off a corner, and just old school English grit and grind right there. But yeah, I'm totally.
They don't play the most exciting football for sure, but like, it's a team, they know what they're good at, and everyone buys into what they're doing. And I like, there's some degree of respect for that. And I don't know. He's probably, I would guess at this point, he's probably the longest standing coach in the EPL, maybe him or Eddie Howe. I don't know who.
Eddie Howe is. You
can
check that 100%. Eddie Howe is the longest current serving manager in the Premier League now that Arsene Wenger has left, which I love because I'm open with the fact I'm an Eddie Howe fanboy, so I'm cool with that. One thing more about Sean Dyche, he's so snarky and loves a snide comment in a press conference, about some other team, just like a nice subtle dig, which, as you know, the Brits love, and especially the guys on Football Weekly that we listen to.
Mm-hmm.
Everton West Ham could be interesting. If West Ham, this is a game I think they need to get some points. This is an opportunity. I think Everton are there for the taking. I wouldn't be shocked to see West Ham pick up maybe their first points of the season on that game.
Totally agree.
Southampton Brighton is Southampton Brighton. I don't think there's a lot to say about that.
Shout out to Danny Ings though. He 2 years back-to-back ACL injuries, and he came back healthy, and he wanted to play, so Liverpool sold him. Like, tremendous attitude. I don't know. I'm glad he scored. I think he scored 2 goals since the season started, and it's just so good to see.
He's been having a kind of a rejuvenated season, and I support him, and I 100% agree with you, Mike. Good shout there, because I do love to see players come back from injury and do well and be able to play. So that's very cool.
There's 2 things I'd like to get your all's opinions on. We don't have to talk about them long. First, Caleb, since you're a Man City guy, did you see where Man City posted a 500 million plus revenue turnover? Or the second team to do that, second to United?
I saw that. I saw that statistic at the same time as I saw the stat that the overall investment by Sheikh Mansour has been like $5.1 billion since his takeover. So there was a lot of hatred towards that that I was reading, and then right after that I read the profit that City has turned. So it's good to so both things are true, and the problem is in order to make money you have to spend money. The Sheikh has invested an absolutely absurd and sickening amount of money in the club. But one thing that I hear from a lot of the Mancunians online is the way that they've improved the area around the club, which I think is really awesome, because that was the original intention of most of the football clubs in England, was that they were through the church or they were through a school, and it grew into a professional organization, and then that professional organization is expected to continue giving back and helping the community. And so I will say that at least City, I have heard a lot of things and seen a lot of things on a lot of good they do in the community. So I hope that they're taking the five, I believe it was over 5.1 billion. Hank, can you check that for me? So yeah, just definitely looking to see that he's doing some good with all that investment. So what was your other question that you had, Harrison?
My other one, I just wanted to get both your all's thoughts, because I'm on the show, so we have to at least talk about him for half a second, right?
Oh, I know where we're going.
Cristiano hasn't scored yet for Juventus.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure. Oh, it definitely will. I just think it's a little interesting. I think that, and I've been able to catch a couple of their games. I think that I hate to say like he wants it too much, because that sounds so silly. Because everyone, especially a goal scorer of his capability, wants it a lot. You know what I mean? It's just maybe he's pressing a little bit hard to make it work. I think I read something where he's taken the most shots of anyone in the big five leagues without a goal. Obviously, it's coming. I mean, he's still a phenomenal talent. I just thought it was interesting. Didn't know if you all had any remarks, since I know you all love him.
We do love him 100%. I wouldn't. Here are my thoughts quickly. He is probably struggling to adjust to the new league a little bit. That's got to be some of it. He's not going to be seeing the same types of chances that he's used to seeing. He's not going to be seeing the same defenders that he's used to seeing. So I do think there's an adaptation period. The second thing is he's getting older. I think maybe Real Madrid knew that a decline was coming and might have gotten rid of him at the right time, because maybe, I know all the good things that are being said about him right now, but it's possible that he might go on a little bit of a slide. The third point is that it's also equally and maybe more possible he's about to hit a massive purple patch and start scoring bangers in droves. You know what I'm saying? Like, he's totally capable of going red hot, all of a sudden, and put in 10, 15 goals, in a short time period. So
I think Juventus are a very interesting. I mean, they're obviously really talented and have been a top club for a while, but with Ronaldo, I'm curious to see what they do this year, especially in Champions League and everything. I actually got I said I wouldn't, but I ended up getting an ESPN Plus subscription the other day, so I can try to catch some of their games, because they have the whole Italian league on there.
Nice.
But like I said, I like watching Ronaldo play, but they've got a lot of talent. Still, some that don't get quite the notoriety, with Cuadrado, Douglas Costa, Pjanic, Dybala. I mean, they're a really good squad.
They've been in a Champions League final twice in the last 4 years and lost both times.
Yeah.
So, I mean, they're good. They just got to get over that last hump.
I think Cristiano will come out. He'll be fine. But I did see one match. I can't even remember who it was against now. They ended up beating them like 3-1. And Cristiano had a shot, and it went off the post. So the keeper had a really good save. No, it went off the post. And Cristiano had turned to celebrate, and then he had turned back to look, and then his teammate tapped it in, and Cristiano threw his arms up in disgust. It was really funny. He was just so frustrated. I'm your teammate just scored, but it's we know who Cristiano really is.
Yeah, he wants that goal. He wants that stat. Hank, shout out. Thanks, buddy. Manchester City accounts show Sheikh Mansour has put 1.3 billion into the club, The Guardian, and that came out today. So, been a big investment there. Yeah, Ronaldo is good. The Sheikh is rich, and football is wonderful. Thank you guys so much for being with us. I'm about to take us out of here unless you guys want to say anything else. Any last words? Harrison, thanks for being on the pod, buddy. We appreciate you so much.
Yeah, I'm glad to be back. Hoping to be back again multiple times.
Definitely, brother. Mike, we appreciate you, bud.
See you guys. Night, Harrison. Thanks, man.
All right, see y'all.
Everybody, this is Mike and Lebs Talk Football. Enjoy the games this weekend. Hit us up on Twitter. Oh, man. I love Ariana Grande so much.
What?